Good morning. Today we are going to talk about exception handling in Java. The exception handling in Java is one of the powerful mechanism to handle the runtime errors so that normal flow of the application can be maintained. In this, we will learn about Java exceptions, its types, and the difference between checked and unchecked exception. What is exception in Java? Dictionary meaning. Exception is an abnormal condition. In Java, an exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. It is an object which is thrown at runtime. Exception handling is a mechanism to handle runtime errors such as class not found exception, IO exception, SQL exception, remote exception, etc. Advantage of exception handling. The core advantage of exception handling is to maintain the normal flow of the application. An exception normally disrupts the normal flow of the application. That is why we use exception handling. Let's take a scenario. Suppose there are 10 statements in your program that there current occurs an exception at statement 5. The rest of the code will not be executed. That is, statement 6 to 10 will not be executed. If we perform exception handling, the rest of the statement will be executed. That is why we use exception handling in Java. Hierarchy of Java exception classes. The Java language throwable class is the root class of Java exception hierarchy, which is inherited by two subclasses, exception and error. A hierarchy of Java exception classes are given below. Exception, error. In exception, there are IO exception, SQL exception, checked and found exception, and runtime exception. Error, stack overflow error, virtual stack error, out of memory error. Hierarchy of Java exception class. There are types of Java exception. First one, there are two types of Java exception, checked and unchecked. Here, an error is considered as the unchecked exception. So, according to the oracle, there are three types of exception: checked exception, unchecked exception, error. Difference between the checked and unchecked exception is: checked exception, the classes which directly inherit throwable class except a runtime exception and error are known as checked exception. Example, IO exception, SQL exception, etc. Checked exceptions are checked at compile time. Unchecked exception, the classes which inherit runtime exception are known as unchecked exception. Example, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception, etc. Unchecked exceptions are not checked at compile time, but they are checked at runtime. Error. Error is irrecoverable. Example, out of memory error, virtual machine error, assertion error, etc. Java exception keywords. There are 5 keywords which are used in handling exception in Java. Try. The try keyword is used to specify a block where we should place exception code. The try block must be followed by either catch or finally. It means we can't use try block alone. The catch block is used to handle the exception. It must be preceded by try block, which means we can't use catch block alone. It can be followed by try finally block later. The finally block is used to execute the important code of the program. It is executed whether an exception is handled or not. The throw keyword is used to throw an exception. The throws keyword is used to declare exception. It doesn't throw an exception. It specifies that there may occur an exception in the method. It is always used with method signature. Then, Java exception handling example. Let us see an example of Java exception handling where we are using a try catch statement to handle the exception. Here, try is used to code that may raise exception. Here, the rest of the program which cached that, which excluded that exception, and the rest of the program will execute normally. So, output is the exception in Java thread main Java language arithmetic exception by 0, rest of the code. In the above example, 100 bar 0 raises an arithmetic exception which is handled by a try catch block. Common scenarios of Java exception. There are given some scenarios where unchecked exception may occur. There are as follows. A scenario where arithmetic exception occurs. If we divide any number by 0, there occurs an arithmetic exception. Int a equal to 50 bar 0, it's arithmetic expression, which means no integer can divide by 0. So it is arithmetic exception. A scenario where null pointer exception occurs. If we have a null value in any variable, performing any operation and the variable throws a null pointer exception. String s equal to null. So here we doesn't give any value for the string, so it should be considered as null pointer exception. So a scenario where number format exception occurs, and scenario where array index out of bounds exception occurs. Thank you.